Today I welcome John Rush on the show, so thanks for accepting my invitation.
Thank you for inviting. Happy to be here.
Yeah, that's. I am very grateful you came here because like you have many things you're doing, many projects, so I'm grateful. Now I would like if you can, John, to present your path in 2-3 minutes. Then I will take notes and we're gonna start from there.
Sure. So I started many years ago, like 15 years ago or 16 years ago. My first startup was Bootstrapped, and I sold it. And after that, I went on VC path for like 12 years. I was building VC-backed startups. I was investing in some of the startups as an angel. And 12 years after that, I discovered the Bootstrap scene in the indie maker world, and I fell in love with it. And I just left the VC-funded world and joined the Bootstrappers and started bootstrapping a lot of projects. And today I'm running 24 projects, mainly for busy founders, all bootstrapped. And I plan to launch a lot more in this space.
Wow, that's such a resume. I would like to have the same at one point.
It was painful. It was painful. A lot of work.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like, wow. But I have a question about your beginning. You say like you started bootstrapped and then you went to VC world. What made you change and decided to go to VC?
When I started bootstrapping, I thought that people only bootstrap when they cannot raise money from investors. So my first startup, I didn't go to investors because I knew nobody gonna give me money. I was like 15 or 16 years old, right? Like nobody would take me serious. Exactly. I'm still young. I'm just 35.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was the first project?
So the first project was a marketplace for students to sell the help. Like, smart students would help the not very smart students. And
Okay.
and it was really big because internet just happened back then in campuses. And then before that, people would just kind of know each other and say like, if you need help with math, go to that guy or go to that guy. So that was kind of the market. And I kind of automated that. I put it all into the marketplace. I added payments. I added filters, accounts, requests, and everything. So it worked really well. In 2 years, we had like thousands of transactions there daily. It was really big.
Wow.
And then I had a competitor who just appeared, who was even bigger than us, and they just bought the whole thing. And I never thought I will sell. I never thought it will even work. So it was just like a student project for me, and it just by accident, it started growing and it worked out. But it was luck. So I didn't do anything special. It was just luck, me being in the right place, doing the right thing, and then being lucky by selling it to someone. So there's nothing to learn there, really. Like, if you try that again, it will not work.
But I believe this is the same for any project. Like there are a lot of luck in it, unless maybe you get very experienced as you are right now.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
For many people, the beginning is a lot of luck and the right thing at the right moment. But you didn't know you were doing the right thing. You were just doing a thing, and that was the right one at the right moment. But that happened a lot.
I mean, now I can predict if something is going to work out or not, and I can predict even the revenue. So it is pretty boring from that stand right now. But back then I didn't predict that, and when I made that money, I didn't know what to do next. So the only obvious thing people would think of back then was that I had to become startup founder who will raise money, who will go to Silicon Valley, who will get into 500 startups, YC Combinator or Alchemist. Like there were like 3 top incubators. So there was like this path everybody wanted to have. And I was just jumping on that path. And I raised money. I went into the incubator. So I did all the things everybody else was doing. And I didn't even know that I bootstrapped my previous company. I thought I just got lucky by building something random and it worked out. I didn't even know the term bootstrapping. It didn't exist back then, actually.
It didn't exist at the time. It was just like people not enough good to raise money.
Exactly. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. I'm young, like nobody gonna give me money. So I go there and then I just spent all my next like a decade doing the same model, like a startup, incubator, VC money, one round, second round, third round, exit or shut down, another one, like same thing for 10 years.
In which country you are doing that?
In Norway. So, and I was kind of lucky that the whole thing just started in Norway right when I started. Like, again, that's another luck. So
you need ecosystem.
I was lucky very often, right? Like in 2010, Norway started investing into startups, and government put a lot of money into it, grants, etc. And I just got into that wave, and the wave just took me forward. And I wouldn't say it was hard. It was, to be honest, I don't want to say easy, but if you're in the right wave in the right time, it just takes you forward. And it was kind of good and bad for me.
It makes very sense. Like for people doing surf, you know that if you miss the wave, it will be painful.
Exactly.
So,
But in my case, it sounds like it was luck, but in reality, looking back, I think it was the bad luck for me, because the fact that it was easy to do this
keep you going,
VC-backed startup thing, just because it was easy to do that kind of stuff, I didn't have any reason to discover other options, such as bootstrapping. So I stayed in that thing for 10 years and discovered the bootstrap world only in 2022, right? And I wish I did it earlier, because, once I entered bootstrap world, then I saw this great fit between what I can do and what bootstrap world needs, because I was great at being scrappy. I was great at having very few people and producing a lot, but that's really bad for VC-backed startups, because in VC-backed world,
spend the money.
You have to spend money, you have to pay for ads, and your head count is your KPI. People brag about that. If you open TechCrunch, they say this company has, 100 people, 50 people. Like, that's good to have a lot of people. And I always had few people, right? And when you go and raise money from investors, you have to almost, pretend you have a lot of people. You have to say, well, we have, like 20 people, but also, 20 other people.
The sales.
Yeah, exactly. But in Bootstrap world, you're proud. True, you have right?
Been there.
Or you have friends who are just advising you once a year, and you call them part of the team, right? Just to look bigger.
On the picture on the website.
Yes. And I had to do that, but that was something I didn't like doing, and that was something that was not helpful. And I felt like a fish in the wrong ocean, really, all those years.
Oh, I agree.
And the moment I tried Bootstrap world, I felt like they exactly value the things I do the best, like being scrappy, being fast, being innovative, and things like that. Yeah.
I think we have a connection issue. I don't know what I can do.
I think, the way Riverside works, that it will record both of us anyways. Even when you don't see me, it will actually record me. And in the final record, we will both kind of be there. So it's...
I don't have a problem about that, but sometimes I don't hear even your answers.
Oh, yeah.
So
you can just say,
difficult. So I say yes a few times already.
You can guess.
But at one point, to ask you back good questions, I need to know what you're saying. Maybe I think I can hide your camera, but you still record it. And I think that will
you can do that.
Easier. Where is the settings? Audio, video, output, mirror, isolation. Because if we disable the camera, then we will not see it. But I remember there's something about network. Where it was?
It might be my internet.
Did it change?
I can switch my internet and see what happens. Maybe it's my problem. Let me switch it.
Yeah, let's try. I thought Norway has a good internet, but you're not in Norway right now.
All right. So I'm on new internet.
I found the
I see
mode
it. Low data mode.
Low data.
Cool.
Yes. Yeah. Finally. Okay. Let's go again. So you were talking about the VC world, and that was like you feel not the right fish, the fish in the right water. And I honestly felt that a lot in startup. Like I resonate a lot with what you shared about like you had to have a big team and you don't like that. And I was exactly the same. Like when I was like doing startup as well, it was like a pain in the ass. I felt like everything is a lie. You know, I don't know if you got this feeling, but like, for example, you have to say, oh, we are 20 in the team, and you put like the picture of friends and stuff like that. And at the end, it's just all you. And you're like, why we do that? I prefer just like, can we be just honest in our business and do things like as we are, and everyone will like it. But in startup world, it feels so wrong doing that. And now in bootstrapping, like we're proud to be a company of one and things like that. And I really love this, you know, like right now, I have a Discord of a community with my project, and some people ask things and I'm saying, sorry, right now I'm like in the bed or I'm not working because it's night for me. And they say, okay, no problem. Let's see it tomorrow. And before in startup world, like I felt like because we fake it so big, then they expect you are like Microsoft. And so if you say something human, like, sorry, we're in pause, we're eating or we do a meeting, they say, fuck off and stuff like that. People get so mad. And I feel now in bootstrapping mode, I feel like you can be very honest and it's very fine. And I find this difference, like, for me, it changed my day, like everyday life. You know, for you, I believe it's the same.
Yeah, I think you're just completely correct. And I think there are people who actually enjoy the startup world and they enjoy this pretend to be bigger than you are, wear a suit every day and go to the conferences, make partnership calls and all those things. Like some people enjoy that. I know people who enjoy that a lot, and they don't enjoy being small, that they just want to have a lot of people in a team. They want to have a meeting every day with like 50 people, or etc. So it's just type of people.
I have hard time to believe you, but
I know people like that.
Stuff. But
I know people like that.
The rest, I agree. It's same like corporate job. Like some people, like now we have kind of a mood where it's bad, blah blah blah. But there are many people loving being in corporate. And that's okay. That's okay. They do what they want. Just don't ask us to come and like it. That's it.
Yeah, I think it comes a lot to like some people are more into actual product, and some people are into building a company. And I think the bootstrap people are usually the people who are into building products, not the companies. Because
you're so right.
Because building a company is when you actually enjoy building a culture, the systems, having departments, having more people and all those things. And if you enjoy that stuff, then that's your KPI. But what happens in reality is that in tech world, most founders are actually the introverts who enjoy building products. And I think most people who raise VC money, like nearly 99% of people I know, they actually never enjoyed all these things like you and me. Like they say same things when we talk behind the closed doors. Some of them still run startups with many people, but they say the same things, but they can't say it publicly because they have investors on board and they have to raise their next round, right? But I also know few people who love it. And for example, one guy, he closed down his startup recently, and I tell him like, you should bootstrap, like go and be an indie maker. And he says, no, I just want to have this vibe where I go to conferences, to the physical meetings, I have partnerships, I have people, I hire them, etc. I kind of like it. I don't like to do the work myself. I like running people, etc. So there's some people like that.
No, I totally agree. Like for me, like going to conference and I have to deal with people daily is like my nightmare. It's like put me to hell. And I totally understand. I've seen people like enjoying so much being in this state and doing it. And but as I came to the conclusion, this is not for me and this is okay. Now I know where I should go, where I am like, I like this image of, if you put a fish, ask a fish to climb a tree, then will feel done his whole life. And I feel this is this. Like for me, being in startup world, I am a bad employee because I want to do everything myself, because I'm taking the job of everyone else. That doesn't make sense. Like I am just like, they deal with me like so bad. And now when I am doing it on my own, this is super easy. Like today I want to do marketing. I can do marketing because I don't have a role of just being a developer or whatever, a CTO. And I love this freedom. And yeah, that's basically why I'm going this way. And I believe this is the same for you. Like be able to do all this multi-potentiality in this product and building. It's so fun. I find that like that's super amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's something you said which make me very interested, but I believe this is linked to your belief. It's like you became, after the VC world, an angel investor. So even you don't like that for yourself, you like kind of understand like some people needs like the VC stuff, and so you're helping them. But I'm wondering if you did become an investor like let's say traditional, or you doing different kind of investing in startups than usual?
I started that in 2012, right after I got the money and I had the money to deploy. So I lived really simple life, and I didn't need the money for my life, and I wanted to invest money somewhere. So I put some of my money into stock market. I bought houses, and I put some of my money into startups, mostly into startups I knew, like from my network. So it was just because I had the money and I had to put it somewhere, and I didn't want to keep the money on the bank just because it feels wrong, like it's losing its value, etc.
Yeah.
And I did small investments from 10 to 100K into many startups from my network.
So like more
but I have to say that it is just like angel kind of investment.
Yeah.
Like regular, but I was not having the fund or people running it. It was just I had a network and I saw good project, good founder. I would get to know him or her, and then we would become friends, and then eventually I would invest. And usually I would invest my time too. Like I would invest money, and I would probably join the startup either as advisor or as a team member, even as CTO sometimes. Very often, actually, I would join them as a CTO. So I would bring myself and the money inside. So it happened often, but I must say that it almost never worked out. So I was a terrible investor. I lost nearly everything.
This is normal.
Yeah, being terrible is normal.
Yeah.
But I think I'm below average because I managed to lose all investments I ever made. I don't know how that happened, but I invested into crypto, I invested into stock market, into property market, and into startups. 4 investments, and into currencies. 5 investments. So that's the only thing you can do in the investment world. and I did that all. And for some reason, I managed to lose all that investment, like with different reasons.
I think the ratio is like 1 on 10. No, it's something like that in VC world. Like 1 on 10 will outperform everything, and the rest will die. So you needed to do 5 more.
Well, I invested a lot more than 5, so I had like more than 20 investments.
Okay.
So in my case, it almost didn't work at all, and also I even failed to invest in stock market. I have bought Nvidia stock when it was like, I don't know, maybe $20 or whatever. It was really cheap, right? But I sold it. I sold Tesla stock as well. So, and I ended up either not making money or selling at the worst possible moment. So I have paper hands for that kind of stuff. And for some reason, I always had this
different job.
Yeah, you have to be a person who loves money, and I hate money. For some reason, I just try to stay away from money all my life.
Interesting.
You know why? Because I realized that whenever I was making money and I had enough or more than enough, I would lose the excitement of making money through my startups. So basically,
you lose interest.
Yeah, because if you start a startup, you make like $10 the first month, right? Yeah. And you have to be happy about those $10 to make the next $100 or $1,000, right?
Yeah.
And for me, it was really difficult to be excited about this little money when I had more money in the bank. And I think my subconscious kind of pushed me to do wrong choices on how to invest my money so that I lose it all. It sounds stupid, but I think that's what happened, because it can't be coincidence that I just did so many terrible investments and terrible decisions. And eventually, when I started bootstrapping, it helped me. So I ended up by not losing all my money, but getting to a point where I don't have a lot of money. I just have some. And then when I started bootstrapping, I felt really, really excited about, 1K MRR, 2K MRR. It was so exciting. I felt like, on top of the world. And then you get to 5, then you get to 10, then you get to 20. Like all these milestones make you feel really good, and it never stops. Like you keep growing, and you just always feel excited about that. But whenever you zoom out and realize that this is not a life-changing money, then it's not so excited anymore. So that's why I think it's important to be hungry for money. I think it's almost the key for Bootstrap success is to be hungry for money, that you get super excited by earning anything. Because I often see on Twitter people saying that, when I see other makers making whatever they make, like a lot of money, my little profits seem so little, I lose motivation, right? Like that's wrong attitude. So you have to get to a point where you're happy even for $1, because it's really hard to make even $1. Like I'm making a lot more than $1 now, but whenever I start new project, every dollar is really hard to get in. Like it's always hard at the start.
Yeah, and I find also that's what making exciting, like because you at the beginning you don't know the recipe who's gonna get you this money, and you don't know if you can do it again. Like maybe you will get €1, but can you do it twice? Because sometimes it's like €1 by mistake, and then you're like, oh yeah, now I know how to make money, and you try again and it didn't work. I really like this beginning of startups more than earlier you were saying like to make money, but like there are another competencies is how you keep the money, like how you make that still exist. And this is something for me, I struggle as well. Like I don't like to keep money. I don't like to have this job of keeping the money. I like to make the money. I like to create the things that make the money, but keeping it seems such a boring job.
It is. You're a typical founder. I'm just like that. And it is very common for Bootstrap founders.
I mean, and I'm trying to learn on that and make different things. But as I did all the investment I did with the money I had was wrong, mainly. Only maybe my flat wasn't the wrong investment because I live in it. But most of them were like terrible decision. Like yesterday I was receiving the email of FTX. Like because I was having money there, I was like having 8,000 there. Now it's like they send me an email say, okay, now we are almost going to refund people. You can click here to see how much you have, and 600 because last moment just before they close, I moved the money to a crypto would like blow down so bad. So now it's like worth nothing. I'm like, oh, amazing, another good move.
You're like my brother. So, I bought Bitcoin in 2017, a lot of it. And I bought it on Norwegian exchange called Bitcoin Norway because I felt like it's in Norway. I knew the guys, all safe. I had all my Bitcoin there. And then right at the time when the Bitcoin hit the highest, I get an email from them saying that, we were hacked and we're investigating. And, whenever I hear that, that nothing is going to be fixed. Like once exchange is hacked, it's all gone. And I lost everything, right? And I did good investment. I had no plans on selling. I wanted to stay with Bitcoin for a decade, but I was not lucky, right? So I was always lucky with products and startups and ideas, and never lucky with money. And I think that's actually good. It's better than the opposite. I would be pretty sad if I was rich but have done nothing important for the world. That would be, the worst life I could imagine, being rich but not deserving anything of that, inheriting from a Nigerian prince that died or whatever.
I do believe we kind of attract that, like if we wanted to be rich and do nothing, then that will happen in one point in our life. But like we don't want that. And I think that's lead me to the question I wanted to ask. It's like, what is for you your rich life? I saw a Netflix show about that, which is a very nice question I found. Like, what means for you to be rich? Because probably it's not about having millions. It's something else, I believe. Otherwise, you will have keep them.
Yeah. Well, I'm at a point in life where I know pretty well what's that, because I've tried all the things. I lived luxury life, I lived poor life, I lived lonely life, I lived family life, like everything. And I can clearly say that being rich is having a strong family and strong community of friends who do the same stuff you do, so have common interest with a group of people, so that you enjoy doing that activity with those people. Right? So I and the numbers are not important at all. Like they are actually just irrelevant. It's just as long as you can keep doing that, it's all good. But I think number one is family and children. Like when I was 27, I didn't really think this will be so important. Whenever I heard people saying that, I thought it's just the bias, like they have the kids, and they say because they have it, and what else will they say? But now I realize that it is such a strong energy storage for everything else in life, because things get the same every day. When you're building business, it's fun the first year, the second, the third. But eventually, if you're doing it for 20 years, things get, repetitive. And sometimes you feel bad. Sometimes you just don't want to do stuff. But whenever you have this close family, kids, and wife, and you get more energy, then you come back and you're stronger again. So that's kind of the most important for me. And money is only important for me as a tool to be used to build more businesses. I really like building products. I really like solving problems. Like whenever I see a problem, I want to solve it. Not because it will make money, but just because it will make people happy. And when I see people being happy by using my products, I get really happy. It's bigger for me than money. Like that's why if I was making money by having amazing investment in Nvidia or Bitcoin, well, that's just money. There is no value I brought to the world. There is nobody saying thank you to me for that. But when I make money with my products and people love using them and they make their own living and their own businesses using my products, and they feel that it's great that they're using it and they feel gratitude, I feel really good. Like every day when I read a message, like on Twitter, I get a lot of DMs or public comments where people say thanks for that. It's an amazing tool. It just I feel like a kid who is being treated well by the others. I feel so good. Like people say. People post this Stripe screenshot saying that whenever I get Stripe notification, I feel great. Like I don't care about Stripe notification. I don't even have those. I don't have them on. I don't know what I'm making. Like that sounds stupid, but I have no idea how much money I'm making. I check it sometimes just to create content around it. Like, I'm spending that and, earning this. Like maybe that's interesting for people, right? But before I was sharing that, I had no idea. I just look at the balance and I see I have enough money on the bank. It means all good. Yeah. Like I don't remember what it was last year or this year, but as long as I am above certain threshold, I know everything is great. I'm kind of running. But when I get the messages where people thank me, that's where I feel this spike of happiness, and I want to just go back to the product and do more.
I agree. This feeling of like seeing people and enjoying what you're doing and helping them. That's such a great feeling. Like I think it's difficult to explain this, but I feel useful when my product is useful to people, and this is strange, like, because I don't know for you, but if my project is like buggy or things doesn't work for them, one day I feel very, very bad. Like I feel like I am broken in a way because my product is broken, which is I think not really healthy pattern. But I'm so tied to this, then that's really changed my mood compared to how it works or not for people and help them. Do you
I
have that
mean,
as well?
uh, I have to admit, sometimes when I wake up in the morning and let's say one of my products had a downtime or there was a bug
Mm.
there for a whole night, and I have a lot of American clients. Most of my clients are from American. So, and I'm in Europe. So I usually sleep when they use my services. And if I wake up and I see, those messages and I realize that people were struggling for the whole day, they were like mad for the whole day for like 7-8 hours
Yeah.
while I was sleeping. I feel so bad. I feel so bad that it feels like, there's this moment when you lose your phone or something, you feel this hole in your heart. It feels
Yes.
like strong pain, and you can't do anything because it happened. Like you dropped something and it broke, right? And it happened. You cannot go back in time. And same here. I realized that I can never go back in time. I understand that these people are actually mad at me and I can never fix this. Even if I fix something now, they will still kind of remember that moment. So it's really terrible feeling. And it's the saddest moments of my life when I have mornings like that. And I have those mornings, not too often, but I have them once every few
Yeah.
months. And I'm not looking forward for those days.
Yes, yes, I totally feel you. Like, my project was broken for 6 months in a row because I couldn't figure it out how to make analytics at scale because I have millions of devices like sending me analytics data, and I was like struggling to find a solution which is not expensive. And each time I was finding a solution, basically, I was like, oh, perfect, it works. And finally, it was or too expensive, like it fucking was the price of how much I earn, or it was stopping to work after 10 days. So I had this coaster of like emotion and people complaining like every week. And that was killing my vibe. Like I was so down for
Yeah.
6 months, late 6 months, like unable to do anything. And I was like trying to spend like 12 hours a day on the fucking problem. And every day was the same thing. Like I was like, oh, it doesn't work, or it works, but it's too expensive. I was very, very sad. I felt like I had killed someone, like it's just such a bad feeling. And
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
it's working again and people are happy again. I'm like, oh yes, finally.
That's the thing. Like
But
whenever you have those problems, when you actually make things work and you get good feedback, the happiness is 10 times stronger than if you didn't have the problems. For example, like I
oh
have many
yes.
products, and some products never have problems because that's the nature of those products. They are not doing anything critical. So there are no bugs. They just work and never break. And some of them making really good money and make people happy, but I just feel not so excited about those projects comparing to the projects where you have the roller coaster, like, people hate you, then they love
Yeah.
you, then they hate you, then they love you. So I think that's who we are. Like we need the hate and love to appreciate the love after hate.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But this is a thing of stoicism. They say like if you don't feel the happiness, then you don't feel the pain. But if you want happiness, you have to feel the pain. This is like
Yeah.
you feel the difference, and this is what make you like feeling alive. So you have to choose. Like if you want to have like a high, you have to have a low. It has to happen at one point.
Yeah. And that's the reason
But
why it's good to have, it's good to be poor. It sounds
yeah,
funny, but it's good to be poor if you want to enjoy making little money that you'll probably be making at the start of your Bootstrap project, because first year you will have very small revenues and you have to enjoy those revenues. And to do that, you have to actually be not so rich so that that revenue makes some difference in your life.
now I'm trying to detach from enjoying the revenue, but more enjoying like making things useful for people. I'm trying to really focus on just the things useful and do that daily and enjoying doing that instead of like I believe this is more sustainable than enjoy like the money and stuff like that, or because like money goes and comes and it will be harder. But if you get like useful every day, then it's very hard to get lower. Like you can have some problems as bugs and stuff. But
actually, just last thing about this topic is that
yes,
I really see this as the key job of a Bootstrap founder is to make people happy. Like, it sounds cliche, but it's not really important thing for VC-backed startups. In VC-backed startups, your key job in VC world is to have, to spend less money on acquiring customers than they pay you. So your customer acquisition cost has to be lower than lifetime value. That's the only goal of VC-backed startup, and that's a good goal because if you get there, you can pour a lot of money into company, and that money will multiply. In VC-backed startup, you should never spend money on growth because it will bring you nowhere, because you cannot bring more money into the growth, and you should just focus on making people love what you do by providing them value, and basically you have to go negative on ROI, like you have to do more for the user than they pay you, a lot more. Because in VC-backed, it's wrong to do that, but here you have to do that, because if you do that, every user that fell in love with your product and your solution and, gives you love back, those users will push you forward. Like when you get 100 of those users, these people will actually, be your engine of growth. They will recommend to others. They will mention you in the internet. They will bring their friends. They will give you some support and love so that you can keep doing the stuff. So that's really important to deliver as much as possible to the users in the Bootstrap world, at least at the, before 10K MRR or before 20K MRR.
That's a very interesting vision. I think I never realized, like, I am doing that, but I never realized that was a strategy. It's just because that's authentic to me to do that. Like on the VC world, I had more the feeling like I'm not helping anyone unless I am helping the VC companies, because that's the goal. When you have VC baked, like many things were, at least from my experience, targets to please the VC. Like they say, at the quarter meeting, they say, oh, you should do that because it will help us to go to the next step. So you're just like going to the direction the VC said, and it's often very not connected to making the users happy. And that's what frustrated me in the first startup I was. Like we were doing so good for people, and VC were always pushing towards another direction than making it good for the users. And I was like, come on, guys, like we're making something that has a fucking impact. And you're just going like, each action you ask is going other direction than that. So yeah, definitely I resonate with that. Like Bootstrapper are like making very impactful business. Now, also, I was saying that earlier in the last podcast as well, but I like a Bootstrapper because that's bring product where you will never have VC baked product where like, like a 5 or 10 or 15K MRR product, which is like the maximum it will get sometimes in certain niche. And if it was VC baked, then this project will never exist because they will like get refused to get funded because it will not go. The niche is too little. But these users have a real problem and would love to have it fixed. And if Bootstrapper will not exist, then this problem will just be a problem. And now it became like not a problem anymore because there are tiny Bootstrapper will go for this problem. And I really love this. Like I find like Bootstrapper is helping the world to have less problem,
Yeah, that's exactly where I bet pretty much everything. Like I bet all my business on the idea that the world wants small solutions for small problems, like very targeted small solutions for small problems. And you're right. Like whenever you're raising money, you have to say that my target is this size. It's at least 10 billion or at least 1 billion has to be there.
Yeah.
And it means that you have to make your product more generic. Like you can't have one feature, you have to have 10 because that one feature is only relevant for a market of 10 million, not for a market of 1 billion. And what happens because of this is that all products that are VC backed, they're competing, they're doing identically the same thing. Like if you look at the Bootstrap world, you will see that even similar products have very big difference because they're trying to position themselves slightly different audience, slightly different stage of the customer segment, everything like that. And because of this, a lot of the problems are not being solved, and all software is complicated. Because if you want to raise money, you have to make software for large teams because you will not charge small teams or solo founder a large sum, right? And that's why you have to focus on bigger teams. And for that, you have to focus on features that are good for teams, like collaboration, permissions, and things like that. And if you give the same software to a solopreneur or a small team, they will probably suffer there because it is bloated by features for large teams, but you have to navigate there, right? But if you don't have those features, then you can't sell to the large teams and you can't raise money. But if you look at the reality, like the specialized software is better for everyone eventually. So we're seeing now that the specialized software made by bootstrappers starts eating the users from the VC world as well, because all bootstrappers are growing. There are very few who are not growing. Like I know nobody, like I'm watching this world for like 2 years, and I know nobody who was doing 10K MRR and stopped growing, right? They're all growing. I know a lot of startups who were doing 10K MRR and died, right? So
yes.
I think that in Bootstrap world, it's more sustainable. It's more value for that user that's using your tool. And in a competition with the VC-backed products, you're just kicking their ass for that specific use case, right? And that just means that sooner or later, instead of having 10,000 bigger VC-backed products, we're going to have 1 million small micro-SaaS tools from bootstrappers. That's the future I really bet on, and I'm 100% sure it's going to happen. Like it's something not pleasant to hear for both VCs and for VC-backed startups. I'm sorry for saying that, but that's something I really believe in, and all the data supports that. Everything that happened this year compared to last year supports this. And it's going to just keep accelerating because all the tools, all the AI stuff, everything just helps more to the Bootstrap founders rather than the larger VC-backed teams.
Yeah, you're so right. That's make me think when we have this conversation at one point, because one of the pain of scattered like tiny product is at one point people get like a bit annoyed by paying so different things in so many places. That's why sometimes we have like Bundle or like Adobe who has like everything. So at one point you will probably have a kind of setup for SaaS. Like a SaaS setup is like a app store for Mac.
Well, I'm building that, by the way, if you don't know that.
No way.
Yeah, so I'm building SaaS OS, so that's exactly to solve this problem, an operating system for micro-SaaS tools so that you can pay one subscription, have one account, have same settings, and use all those tools, and they just talk to each other, and you don't have to, deal with like 20 different dashboards, 20 different admin URLs and portals. And I'm sure a lot of people will do that as well. There will be a lot of other bundles, hubs, operating systems for that. It's not difficult. And all the micro-SaaS founders will be interested in integrating their tools into that system. And what we are doing, we are making the open API standard for this so that every micro-SaaS can implement those standards. And then it will be natively available within this operating system, which will make it easy for users to try the tools, because now you have to sign up for the tool, you have to enter the company information, logo, everything. But here you can just press the button and it just happens. So as as you mentioned, there will be a problem, but it's easy to solve problem. And we're still not having a giant monolith made by one company that just, put little effort into each part. We still have every part owned by a maker who puts his life and heart into it, who talks to every user and knows everything and makes it perfect. And then you collect those things into one place and just improve UX for those who buy a lot of products so that they can kind of have, one interface for all.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, I find that amazing for both sides. As a user point of view, you don't have to have like credential for everything and payment for everything. You just have one place where you have everything and it's super simple. And on the other side, as a maker, you can just focus on your fucking product instead of like doing a billing portal again,
Yeah. I mean, that's nice. The dream world that I want to, create or help creating, where I have this SaaS OS where I solve distribution and makers build amazing micro products to fill up this ecosystem, and then everybody is happy. The user is happy for having less friction. Makers are happy for having less marketing to do and less, operational work. And everyone is happy. And I think this world is going to compete head to head with corporations. And I think it will win because it is like the quality of software within this ecosystem will be so much higher and the innovation will be so much faster because if Google or Microsoft or Salesforce have to innovate, they have a team department doing one thing, and then they're not interested in anything. Like you saw how much time it took Google to update their login window with a crappy layout.
Yeah, and it's can't believe they took so long for this.
And the result is terrible. Like I thought it's a joke. I thought they will change it the day after and say that was a joke, a prank, but it's not. So people made that and they get paid and it's a department, right? But it never happens in indie maker world because people are doing stuff for themselves. They talk to users and users tell that this is terrible, this is great. Like you have direct connection. Yeah. Like these people making Google login window, they have never spoken to a single person who uses that, right? They just sit in the bunker, like never talking to the other side. So I think there is no chance the monolithic and corporate software or even medium-sized companies can compete against the system that's distributed, decentralized, where every part is made by somebody who is doing that for a living, who is doing that with passion. Like you can't compete with this group.
Yeah, definitely. I find it funny. Like I have the same idea about open source. I think at one point open source will eat like the SaaS world also, because the capability to implement and create new things, like because from external point of view, users sometimes don't understand the problem or like don't see exactly what's happening. But if you have like everything open, then people can dig in and find ways to improve it themselves, if they have the capability and they are like developers. But I really believe like at one point, the capability of open source software will be so big because toolings and everything will get better, then being closed source will be a problem because you will be slower, like you will have less capability to get fast.
I don't think there will be any closed software eventually in the world because it just doesn't make sense. Like the reason we have closed software is that back in the time, software looked like something to patent, something to protect. It looked like an IP, an intellectual property.
Yeah.
Today, it doesn't look like that. Today, writing the code is not the difficult part. The difficult part is everything else. Figuring out what to write, how to distribute it, how to, the UX and all those things. So even if you can make it an experiment, like you can publish your project on the internet, the whole code, and see what happens. Like nobody gonna enter the game and compete with you tomorrow with your code. Like, good example is like we have DevHunt that's open sourced, and we don't see other competitors doing, DevHunt 2 using our code, but they could. There's no restriction on that. So there's no downside on open sourcing, especially if everybody open source, then there's even less downside. There's upside, which is people get more trust in you. They can see what's happening. Yeah. They can validate all the rules, all the algorithms within, and they can contribute. Like DevHunt has been built by contributors who just, gathered up and helped. And it is still the case. So I think it's only the good things coming from open sourcing. So I think we will soon stop even saying that things are open sourced. You will say things are closed sourced.
By default.
Yeah, exactly. So the closed source will be if it's not open source. So now it will reverse.
Yeah.
And also I think like people will invent a new license that will have royalties similar to music. So basically, your project is out, others can use it, they can modify it for their own use, and that's all good, all free. But if you want to modify and compete with the original, it's great for the world, right? Because somebody starts not from the zero, but from your point where you stopped and adds their innovation there, which is great. But you want to be rewarded for that. And I think there will be like a reward royalty system where they will share part of their revenue with you. And then both parties are happy. You're happy to keep, working on your product. Yeah. And they are happy on forking. And that's something what I want to do as well. So part of my vision with SaaS OS is that I'm building SaaS OS, and also I'm building the developer system. It's called Mars X IDE, where we have this idea of micro-apps, where micro-apps can be forked and they can be nested. For example, we have a micro-app for user login and registration. We have micro-app for ratings, for CMS, for all sorts of things. And then, makers can be building those and get royalties from all the other micro-apps that use these micro-apps. So it is like a long nesting tree where money comes in and gets distributed down to the chain to everybody who has contributed into this software. For every line of code that was contributed, people get paid. And I think if this happens, two cool things kind of arise. One, like some makers don't have to go and make the full project. They can do smaller parts. For example, somebody can work just on user login stuff, right? Like user stuff, profiles, etc. And they don't have to do the large project. They can specialize. And we know that when people specialize, the results are better, and also people are more happy because it's often you like some part, but the other part you don't like, but you have to do it because that's part of the business, right? And now you can do even less. You do less of marketing work, and you do even less of coding because you don't have to code everything. You just code the part that you're interested in. And then the other people would just kind of take these parts and put together into their own project and launch it. For example, I launch, let's say, like no-code builder, and then imagine you have an idea for a better no-code builder. And now you have to build it from scratch. And it will just take you a year to get where I am. And not only then you can build your innovation, right? So, and you're probably never going to get there because it will take you more than 1 year. And now you start right where I stopped. Same as with science. Yeah, like you don't have to invent the atom again, right? You just start where the current science stopped and you add on top of it. And imagine you can add on top of existing, any project in the world. You just take it, you fork it, and you can add on top of it. And you would be happy to share royalties because you save so much time by forking it instead of rebuilding from scratch. I think that's the future. Everything will be open sourced, and we will have huge trees of forks where money just flows down the stream to everybody involved, and it will be a very fair system. and everybody will just benefit from, distributing the royalties just because it lets them build projects with less resources. And this also means that bootstrappers get even more advantage because you don't need a lot of people for things. You can just fork large project and add a little bit on top yourself. You don't need a team for that.
Yeah. I really love this vision. Like I feel like right now the only thing we exist like that is a bit like Chrome plugins. For example, you have Gmail, and on top of it, someone do a tiny Chrome plugins to do, for example, IA auto-completion when it was not the case in
that's
in
very
GitHub,
good
and
analogy.
just do that.
Very good analogy.
Yeah.
I never thought about it, but it's brilliant. It is exactly the case. You can extend Twitter with new features just with a Chrome plugin. Exactly. I'm seeing people doing that, and I do that as well.
Yeah, there's so much. But in the SaaS, especially in open source, that's something I found frustrating. Is like, okay, for example, I was using the open source Kanban. I forgot the name. But anyway, I was needing a feature, and so I created the feature for my company, and then we had to self-host it because it was not merged yet, and we stopped paying where we were happy customer paying the cloud version, and we're like, okay, now they don't get anything because we just add one feature, and I found this is so dumb in many ways. You have the base of open source and software, which is super nice. And then each time we go a bit off track or something, the whole revenue model is broken. Not people are paid. And I have the same with Capgo. Capgo is fully open source. I open source everything. And there are some people that told me in India, your project doesn't work because I use Cloudflare, and Cloudflare is a DNS is broken in India. So most of people in India, they love the product. They would like to pay. I don't know how to fix that for now, and because I'm not in India, so I cannot try properly and stuff. And so they fork it. They install themselves, and then they're like, yeah, maybe we can give you sponsorship on GitHub and stuff. But this is not really easy for them, and you have to convince your company you're giving or stuff like that. Where I truly believe in your way or what you were saying. The license could be with the what was called not share revenue, is the royalty.
Yeah.
Yes, royalty is super smart. Why the fuck we have that in music and it works so well? Each time you do a cover or stuff, you pay royalty. But in software, we don't have that. And that should be done definitely, and make it easy. Because I believe that's in so many ways it would be nice. Because right now, for example, in my case for Capgo, when someone fork it, they push on they fork some changes. Sometimes I go there to check, and I see, oh, maybe that's useful. So I just copy paste it in the project again. But that's the only benefit, and I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. That has to be done more smoother, because right now, even the concept of fork in GitHub, I find is a bit kind of dumb in a way, because if someone were just to fix something, he has to fork it. He couldn't directly do a pull request in the repository, or you have to give him rights. I believe also at one point maybe something better than Git should be done for this kind of ecosystem growing and distributing the royalty and everything.
Yeah, I think there has to be, in my vision, there's a product that's core version of the product. And whenever anyone forks the product, they don't have to bother with all the hosting, all the headache. They want to still use cloud, but they just want to have custom features that they didn't have in the base model, in a base repo. So they fork it, and it just happens by magic that they add extra code and it just gets deployed to the same cloud. That company is still managing the whole thing. You still get all the app time, all the updates, everything. And then the whole world knows that this project now has 2 versions. Maybe somebody else will prefer your version versus the other version, because you made it, like you say, in India, Cloudflare doesn't work. So it's not just one man's problem, it is the whole country problem. And then if someone, forks it and hosts that, then others would use it as well, right? But it is a lot of work. and you don't want to do that work. So I think it'll be huge value if the threshold lowers and it's really easy to edit features and code of any project, and you don't have to bother with all the rest of the infrastructure and DevOps and everything. And that's what I want to do. So, and it's already the case for our system. So all my products run this way within my Mars X ecosystem.
Yeah.
And what I'm planning to do is I'm planning to, for example, launch a lot of no-code builders. Instead of having one no-code builder that can build everything, like Bubble or something, right. I believe that it's better to have 20 of them where each is targeting specific use case. One is no-code builder for cinemas, one is no-code builder for bakeries, etc. Because it'll be just easier interface. But I don't want to build 20 projects and maintain 20 repos. Like it's impossible. Too many people. But if it's there's a core project and the rest are forked from there, and everything just happens. Like there is no extra overhead on maintaining these forks and even doing like pull requests and all those things. Then it's easy. Then there is more we can do, and that's why I think the future is where there will be a lot of slightly different versions of the same software, like not just hundreds but thousands. I think there will be thousands of versions of the same software, slightly adjusted to a certain market, to a certain use case, certain user type, certain company size, like all those things. Like, for example, if you're a solo maker, you just don't care at all about permissions, collaboration methods, all those things.
Yeah. You
don't even have to see them because they just clutter the interface and make noise for you, right? So, I mean, these changes will increase innovation because there will be more options to quickly adjust an existing software with a new idea that you think is brilliant. And then let the people decide whether that idea is actually brilliant. And it means that we shorten the innovation cycle from years, as there is now. Like if I want to build brilliant project management tool, new one, after Asana or Jira, I have to spend years to just launch first version, right? Yeah, and now I can spend like a week. After a week, I have as good as existing best thing, but just slightly different and better. Yeah. And imagine that now every week there can be 1,000 of improved versions being launched on the world, and people are trying it out. So it's the same as if we took the human evolution and the natural evolution process and we increased the speed.
Software.
Yeah, and we said that now, in order for a species to modify or to kind of evolve, you need generations, right? You need like hundreds of years. And imagine that you speed it up to minutes, right? Then things happen really fast, and we will evolve from a single cell to a human maybe within an hour, not within 4 billion years. So I think the software is having the same problem. It's evolving really slow because it takes generations of software. It takes like years. And if that's brought down to weeks, imagine the speed of innovation after that.
That's funny because like I have a friend which is very deep down into crypto world. Like he was coming from banking background and he went to crypto world. And that's something they say in crypto world is like everything happened in financial world in years, happen in crypto world, in finance topic in weeks, because everything is based on open source. So everyone is using the new discovery for each others to make it better for everyone. And I really love that. Like the capability they are able to innovate is insane because everything is open source on this, or mainly. And I love that. And I really believe we should do the same like for product, because it will make everyone better product. And I don't think it will kill anyone. It just make better. Probably though some will not survive because they are less good in distribution, for example. But as you were sharing, like if you were the one build the project originally video sucks at distribution, then someone will distribute it, and you will get like I forgot again the name. Royalties. Definitely this word doesn't want to stick in my head. But yeah, and you will get royalties, and you will be super happy because you don't want to do fucking distribution, and someone else is doing it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like,
and we see that struggle now that people who are great at distribution, they don't want to be building because it's very difficult to do both at the same time. I'm doing both at the same time, and it's a torture because it's hard to switch from one mode to the other world and the mode. And I think in this case, both sides get higher quality. Like the product will be built better, and the guy who is distributing the stuff has more time, more focus, and can do more things. So it's almost like two co-founders found each other, but they don't have to be the co-founders. There's no risk. Yeah. Like now you can find a hustler and a maker and build it together. It's possible, but the chance of that working out is 1%. It's as finding a wife. But in this case, you are building something and anyone can distribute it. Like let them compete.
Will be the one let them the best.
Exactly. Yes. The one who does it the best, that's your wife, right?
Yeah. I like this vision because that's something I've started to do on the task I have to on CapGo. I'm using Algora. I don't know if you know this platform.
Yeah, I actually have a podcast with them as well.
Ah, yeah.
Today,
I love these guys.
I think, or next week.
Okay. So just to explain to people who listen to us, is like I have a problem in CapGo. I post a GitHub issue about it, and then I tag Algora and I say, okay, for this issue, I can spend like $50 or $100 or $200, whatever, 1,000, what you want. And then you post it. It will like take the money on your Stripe account to be sure you have it. And then it will post it on the platform. And everyone in Algora will receive an email notification about like, this task is available. And often my task is someone starts about it like in 5-10 minutes. They start to work on it, and the guy is just focusing on this task. He doesn't know about the project. He just himself look the code. Sometimes 2 or 3 people do that. And the one who solved it the best is paid. Often I also give money to others who have tried because I don't think they shouldn't be paid at all. But yeah, so I tip them. And because I told them like help each other out instead of just competing. I don't believe like you should compete. You should help each other out, and someone push the solution, the other will get help. Also pay people if they review the code now. So if you do like a good review, not just saying okay, but like you bring something on the table by doing a review, I pay you like $20, something like that. And that's that. I really love this because like they are not in the company. I don't know them. I never did a meeting with them. They just like do it if they know to solve it. And often I got like some task. I was like, oh, this will take me like 10 days of doing it. I don't know how to do that. And then I post it and the guy like solved it in 2 hours. I'm like, what the fuck, man? But it's just because he's fucking expert of the topic. He know already it, like he did it thousands of times and he did it so well. Like I couldn't do it. I'm like, wow, impressive.
I have to try that. I like it.
Yeah, try it. It's amazing. Like it's super nice, and you can ask, like, for example, when is a task linked to UI, I ask people to film themselves or film the screen to show what they change and stuff. People do peer review themselves. So sometimes I have just like accept pay because like 2 person or 3 review, and the guy they say it was good. I just trust them, and the feature is in the product, and people love it. Or I like to modify a bit after a while, but that was very, very good. And I really enjoyed this freedom I got. Like so many tasks I didn't like to do, I didn't know what to do. I got just posted on Algora and it got solved like in minutes. Or sometimes I got like very impressed. Like a guy did it like in 10 minutes. This is very
good ad for the company. But
Algora.
It's a great idea. And actually, if your project is open source, it's just no-brainer. I think it will be people who know the topic work on it, they fix it. It's a win-win. I will just try it next week for Dev Hunt. I will post a few things there and see how it works. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have a try. I really enjoy the experience. Sometimes you got some people trying to do ChatGPT stuff, but it's less and less, I think. At the beginning, I got that a bit. but they got like everything got refused by their work because it was not really making sense and stuff like that. So I think, yeah, mainly people now are very, very good. And I became like one of the guy who works with me right now as an intern because he was so good and taking all the tasks all the time and make them perfect. He asked me at one point, maybe you should pay me monthly instead of doing by task. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, should do that. And that works so well. Like, I have like 4 or 5 makers now, or like, people in Algora, they take all the time the task because they are the best doing it. So I know like when they take them, they will like outperform anyone. And so I tell often others like, this guy is very, very good. He already know the code base. So if you compete, be mindful because he will win. But yeah, that's, for me, that has helped me so bad last year. Like I spent like very good money on Algora and I'm super happy about it.
Yeah.
Coming back to your project, because like it's already a very good moment we're talking together and I enjoyed the talk. What are you working on, focusing right now on project? Like, what's your main project?
I don't have main project because I have the vision to build SaaS OS.
Where is the status of the SaaS OS, by the way?
So my playbook is this. I want to build all essential products that every indie maker needs. Starting from the stuff you need to build your project, then to operate it, to monetize it, to grow it, to market it, etc. So I'm building no-code tools, I'm building analytics tools, I'm building SEO tools. So all this stuff for the whole journey you have.
I love them.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm using them myself, so I'm my own user. So everything I build for myself first. I see if it works for me because I have tons of projects. Yeah. So I try on all my projects. Once it works for all my projects, I launch it for the rest because if it works for me, it will work for the rest. And eventually, I will cover all the needs of a typical Bootstrap founder. And once that happens, I will launch the SaaS OS that has all the tools running there. Yeah. Because I don't want to launch an empty OS that has like 5 tools in it, right? I want to have 100 tools there to cover everything you need, so that when you sign up for that OS, then there's only one place where you have tools. Like you have only one account and you pay only to one place, and it covers all your needs as a maker. I think that will happen pretty soon. So I'm halfway through. So yeah. It took me 1.5 years. So I think after 1 year, I'll be where I want to be to launch the SaaS OS.
That's amazing. I love this vision. That makes me think also there are so many tools as an indie maker. Sometimes you're like, oh, this is shit. I would like to fix it. But when you look at it, you're like, yeah, maybe I couldn't shout for that. It's like a too tiny fix or stuff. But if SaaS OS exists, then it makes a lot of sense to create these tiny tools. You will be in the SaaS OS and
yes.
and you can yes. get money because of the subscription of the SaaS OS
exactly.
without needing to have like 10 features to make it worth it to pay for people.
You will have a tool that makes a little tiny percentage of the fee, like maybe you get $1 per user, but it's a small tool. Right, and if you have 10,000 users paying $1, that's $10,000. That's a good money for the effort made, right? And I believe that the future is this: like we will have less people who want to become billionaires, less people who want to become millionaires. We will have more people who want to have an income that's not tied to their hours, right? So you build something. And then you get paid, but you don't get paid for hours you've spent. You get paid for your product. And being paid $10,000 a month for a product is actually huge compared to just having a 1 million in the bank. Because 1 million will eventually, turn to zero. And if you make $10,000 a month, it just means that you will get 10K next month and probably more. So it is something that most people would prefer compared to making more but saving money and then figuring out where to invest the money and all those things. So, and also people will do something they own. And we have this, crisis of meaning in the world now. Like people are struggling with figuring out why do they kind of exist and what's the goal in life and what's the meaning of life. And I think one solution to that is to own something. It's almost like your child, like something that you own and you put your heart in it and it brings value to the world and the world says thank you back to you and it funds your life. This is something that brings a lot of meaning into life compared to a regular job or compared to trying to build $1 billion business. Like those things are more like a lottery. You understand that most likely you will not build a huge business. Most likely you will fail and eventually will have to go back to work and make the money again, right? But here, you own something, your name is on it, and it will help the world, and the world knows that it's you, it's your ideas, it's your sweat on this product, right? And if you make it really good, the time you have to spend on it every year will just decrease because, it's less and less things to do. It's more innovation, less of the, regular things. And that's where you want to be. You don't want to be working more when you are 40. You want to be working less because you're going to have kids or other interests. When you're 50, you want to work even less. Right? And this is kind of the path that can take you there. Right? And you're also going to be proud about your whole life because there is something in the world made by you, and the world going to, remember this. And maybe you die and this is still running in the world and maintained by somebody else after you, right? This is kind of the new meaning, I believe. Not only there will be other things, creating meaning, but this is one of the important. It's similar to how world operated many years ago, where every family would do something. There was a family of, people making shoes, for example, and then they were proud about this whole thing that, that they make shoes and those shoes are worn by people around and people, send other people to this shop to buy shoes from, like, still we have people in Italy having these little pizza shops and they are really happy people. I think we need this feeling that we create something because less and less people have kids these days because children solve this problem quite well. Like, you create children and they are in the world and they are being useful to the world, right? But many people don't have kids these days and they will not have kids these days. And even if you have kids these days, most likely your kids will move somewhere really far from you because that's the world today. So, and I think this is like an island of hope for creative, hardworking people to have meaningful life.
Yeah, that's funny. Like you were saying earlier about like if you try to do something like make millions, it's like kind of a luck. But even for the people I know who get millionaire, most of them are very kind of having a life they don't like because right now they make millions, but they make millions in a way that was not meaningful to them. So they are not fulfilled by that. And having the money is kind of a curse because they feel like they have the money so they can do anything, but they don't know what to do with them. And they end up like doing cocaine every weekend, get wasted or stuff like that. Because it's very hard to like, it's very important in the life of human, I think, to have meaning, to have purpose, to find this. And if you manage to make money by luck a bit and without doing that, then it becomes super hard to find meaning and because you feel like you don't deserve that maybe, or that was not well made or stuff. So it becomes such a curse that people are not really like enjoying this life. They're like having the money, but they don't enjoy it and feel like not very great. And I've met some and they were like, yeah, take drugs with us and like get wasted. And I was like, no, I mean, like, I'm very good with my life. I don't need to do that. Like, when I was younger, maybe I was doing shit because, like, I didn't feel great in my life. But now, this work make me super happy every day. Like I like to put things out in the world. I like to get the feedbacks of users and find my project is helping and useful. And so I don't need that anymore. And when I see them, I'm like, that's so sad. Like you managed to make so much money, and that's even made you even less happier.
I have this friend, he's a lawyer, and he hates his job because all lawyers hate their job. And I asked him, like, he's trying to be an indie maker now, and he spends 1 minute every week on that probably, or maybe 5 minutes. And I'm like telling him, why don't you do it more? Like, you're making, 700 a year, like half of that is 350. It's a lot of money too. So work 2 days a week instead of working 5 days a week, and you have time for your indie making project. And he's like, no, that will be kind of difficult. I'm going to be losing money. I'm like, well, you can't look at that this way. I'm going to be losing. Then you should not sleep because you're losing money when you're asleep. You should not talk to your girlfriend because you're losing money while you talk to her. And he's actually in that position where he doesn't spend time on anything. He not even on friends. And now he understands that. And I tell him, what's your goal? And he says, my goal to keep working really hard on this lawyer job and make money, save money, and then eventually free up myself to do this, my own project that I really like. And I'm like, so now you're 38. So you've been doing this since you're 20. So you're 38 now, and you're pretty far from that goal yet. So maybe going to take you, 10 years. You're going to be 48. So you're 50 years old. Your brain is pretty much, old, not innovative anymore. And this is when you just made money after suffering all your life, living the life you never enjoyed. And now, finally, you can actually live the life you enjoy. That's kind of your goal when you're old. And it's difficult for me to imagine that 50-year-old person. I'm not ageist, but I haven't seen that, where somebody who is 50 years old starts something and just works out, because you're just you're not seeing what young people want. It's difficult to innovate at this age. It's easy if you've been innovating all your life and came here, but if you've been a lawyer all your life, then most likely you haven't developed that innovation skill for your 50s. So basically you're exchanging all your best years for the money to get the freedom to do something you love on your last years, where you're not in shape to do great stuff. Why not now? I mean, why not now?
The FIRE philosophy. It's make me think to that so bad. The idea of FIRE is like it's something like you save a lot to retire early. Like you want to retire at 30 or 40, stuff like that. So the idea is like you don't spend anything. You don't leave until you manage to have like the amount you wanted, and then you can just be retired. And for me, at the beginning, I was younger. I was interested into that, but I found like, so that's mean you're betting you can save enough to make enough money that you can retire early, and then you retire early. But the thing is, every people I've seen retire, they got like, they don't know what to do. They basically lost, and some got like very depressed because like the only things they were making purpose to you lost it because you're not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And in the same time, this is kind of a weird bet, because it's mean you're thinking like, okay, you will manage to save enough, you will manage to make enough, you will manage to sell healthy, you will manage to do it on time. And this is a lot of bets you have to do, and maybe you're gonna reach like 49 and you were expecting to retire at 50, and then you got cancer or whatever, and like you fucked your whole plan. Where
I mean,
for me
even
that doesn't make sense anymore.
Best case scenario, if you are still healthy and everything, the chance that you actually know what to do, the chance that you can actually enjoy life outside of that thing you were doing is very low, because you just got used to doing that thing you were doing. You never developed all the skills needed to be independent and making independent business, because you never done it. You only watched others doing it, but you've been working on a day job every day doing tasks from your boss, right? So try and find an example. I don't know an example of those people, Like there must be somebody who has done that,
very, very
but I don't know anyone. And I know a lot of people. Maybe there is one person, all right, but betting on being that exceptional person is really bad way of living life. Like I will be the 1%. Well, there's 1% chance that you will be 1%. All right, good luck with that.
Yeah, I like I don't know where I saw that, but there are a philosophy saying instead of retire late, someone said I retire often. Like, so his idea is like every year I want to have like 1 month off or a lot of time off compared to do it late in your life, because that's your young age where you can take this time to do very nice things, spend time with family, with kids, exploring the world. That's where you have the energy. When you're going to be 60, exploring the world will be way more difficult job and less enjoyable than when you're 30.
It will be hard even when you're 40. People think, old people are the 60-year-old. But if you take somebody who works modern day jobs on a computer, I have a lot of people in my companies. It's like almost 100 people, and none of them are healthy. Like zero. Every single one of them is unhealthy, and they are not even 40. Like they are having health issues. They are not having energy to do anything that's sporty or stuff like that. Most of them are trying to make kids and cannot make kids because it just doesn't work for some reason, because they haven't had healthy life. They sat on the computer, work for all these years. So the expectations that we will be, healthy at 40, and it's like, it's bad expectations, most likely. No. Like if you're, a construction worker, you will be healthy because you're outdoor doing stuff. But if you're a computer, laptop class, you're just aging, 10 times faster because you're having no other life than this computer work.
Yeah, totally. And even if you do your best, like for example, right now I have a standing desk to try to not be sitting all the time. But even that is not enough. Like staying in front of computer is not really what we are made for.
Yeah, if you compare, like I'm doing a lot of active stuff. Like I live on I have a garden, I have animals, I have vegetables growing, and things like that. So I move a lot. But when I go and meet people who have no computer jobs, they move in one day they move more than I move in 1 week. Just because, all their kind of daily stuff requires them walking somewhere, moving something, standing, sitting, all those things. Well, you can stand on your desk, but if you count the movements you've done while doing that, your heartbeat going up and down, it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. But we, as animals, we're kind of, we're still, our body is still an animal body, right? And it needs a lot more. Just look at a dog that's not having walks. It just gets sick, fat, and, dies at the age of 8 instead of living to 18 years. It happens to dogs, it happens to horses. Almost all animals are like that if they don't move. And we are like that too. It's just we invented great healthcare that kind of fixes these problems and helps you stay kind of alive.
Delay, I would say delay.
Yeah.
Delay
but the quality of life is low. Like a 40-year-old person now has pretty low quality of life because it's difficult to overcome this depth of movement that you collected over these years when you had the university, where you sat still a lot and you didn't sleep well, and then your job where you drive from door to door and you sit in the cubicle, then you drive from door to door and you sit, play computer game, then you sleep, then you watch TV series. Like that's the modern life. And that's, coming to this topic, like, that's one of my other projects. Like I had this tweet.
I wanted we go to this way. Perfect.
Yeah. I had this tweet on Twitter that went viral. Like it had like almost 2 million views, on Twitter.
Oh, wow.
I got a lot of hate as well. For some reason, people,
hate?
Yeah, like the yellow filter on Turkey was something people hate. I don't know why. I got it from ChatGPT. I had no idea if it's good or bad. I just look, oh, yellow, cool, it looks like a sunset. And the other one was bluish, it looks like water, like whatever. But somehow people thought that yellow filter on Turkey means bad. I don't understand. If somebody knows why it means bad, just tell me.
I saw the picture, I was like, okay, nice pictures, that's it.
Yeah, I love the picture too. Like, it's different, like it's clear, Turkey, Portugal. I had people sending me messages in Twitter, telling me that they will find and rip me apart, like, for that. Really, it's good. Nobody knows where I live, and I will never expose that.
No way.
Yeah, internet is difficult. So once you go outside of this indie bubble or startup bubble, which is like 500,000 people maybe, or 300,000, once you go to over 1 million views, you get strange people. And some people are so negative, and they're just writing things which are terrible to read and terrible to comprehend. But that's internet, so I close eyes on that. I think it's bots or whatever. Those are not real people. So one thing I want to do with the
better to think that
with the Indie Maker Village, I said I see the trend. So one thing I always did with business, like all my life, I never built product for existing hype or for something that was obvious, because it's really bad way. It's like buying the stock that's going up. Like, you should not buy stocks when they go up. You have to buy them when they go down, because then they will eventually grow, right? And one
yes,
just
that's a gun, no problem.
Yeah, I start over. My wife brought me some food, but I don't eat. So I always do the projects for the future trends. And I highly recommend people to only do that, because if you do for the past trends, then you're going to see decline eventually. Until you build it, it'll be even, passer trend. Like, you should see the opposite. You should see something that's starting to happen. It's small. There is nobody really understands that's happening yet, but you understand because you see something others don't see. And then you predict that this thing will be growing. And if you are the one who builds a product for that growing, currently non-existent almost, but like tiny niche, but that's growing, like a problem, a niche, a segment, whatever, that's growing, then when that thing grows, it will take you with it. And
we were talking at the beginning.
Exactly. So I said I was lucky, but I think I have very good intuition, and I'm really good at spotting what's growing, and nobody understands that yet. Because people usually look at the mainstream, agenda, and this is not mainstream. This is something that's not obvious. And one thing that I see that's not obvious is that people who are into building things, they tend to consume less. So the more you produce, the less you consume. You cannot consume a lot if you want to produce, right?
That's so true. Since I started podcast, I'm not listening podcasts.
Exactly. That's like, it happens everywhere. When you build products, you stop using other products just because, it's just like drug dealers don't consume their own drugs. And I think like we will see that people will consume less if they produce something. So there will be the whole class of producers, people who create something. They create software, they create art, they create things, products, all those kind of things. And imagine that these people will have hard time in the world because the world is optimized for consumers. And it means that the whole agenda of the mainstream world will not be satisfying for them. Both the values, the daily routine, and especially once you get, kids, etc., like you want your kids to have slightly different agenda so that they don't become the consumers, they become producers and creators.
Yeah.
So my idea with the Indie Maker Village is that this is a place where the whole mainstream agenda of the place will be about creating. instead of consuming. Right? It will be both for the people, and it will be easier to create when everybody around you is creating. It's like Silicon Valley is so great because,
of course, yes,
it works for VC-backed startups. So this is basically the Silicon Valley for Bootstrap world, where everything will be around creating. Because I clearly see that the more people create, the more creative they become. Especially if you start creating other things than your primary thing. Like, for example, if you're a software creator, it's great to also do other type of creation, like build something with your hands, like a chair, for example.
Yeah.
You're not going to make money on
that.
I
like pottery, personally.
Yeah, for example. And people who have that side hobby, they are usually better at the main hobby too, just because it makes you more creative. And the modern world is all about consumption. Just go to downtown of every city and try to find a place, a house where you can enter and make your own chair. Like, just try to find that. You will not. You will find restaurants, movie theaters, shops, everything where you can buy stuff, but you're going to find nothing when it comes to creation. And I want to make a place where it'll be just about creating stuff. Like, because consuming is easy. You will always find something to consume, but here it'll be all... Yeah, and it'll be great for the makers, and also it'll be great for makers with kids, because I see that more and more people are giving up on government raising their kids, because government raises the kids who are good for the government, who are consumers, right? And here your kids will be raised in the society that's a creative society that creates. And they will be most likely part of this. They will kind of learn these values and enjoy these values. So this is very small now. It is not as big. It is not like its main agenda. Everybody's agreeing even with things I say. But I see the number of people who think this is a good idea and who want to join such kind of a community is growing. And I think it will just keep growing and keep growing. And I think that if I pioneer this thing, I will grow with the movement. It's a long-term bet. Maybe it will take 5, maybe 10, maybe 20 years. It's a long-term bet. But I have this bet that the creators will go into this world.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with you. And I really like your vision because, I have also like an eco-village project where we want to do things differently, but definitely not the vision about like it's been a community of makers and people doing things. I totally miss that where I am, and I'm searching that all the time, funnily. But that's also the thing I believe. Personally, what I believe is like the world we're living right now, where everything is about consumption, has not a lot of chance to continue the way it is, because like many things are not working, and we know about that. So my idea about the eco-village is we create a system where it's like self-sustainable in many ways, like for vegetables, water, electricity, and stuff like that. And we learn by ourselves, and we learn like techniques to do things ourselves. So, for example, the building will be built naturally with the material we have on. So that will make us like do everything by ourselves. By the way, at the end of next month, I'm going to do like a workshop to do earth building, which is made with the ground. And that's what we really want to do. And we have chosen Madeira because like this place has an amazing weather condition. Like it's they call it like spring island. And a second point I just realized while talking with you, which make Madeira amazing for this kind of place, is in Madeira everything is a bit harder to buy because it's an island. And so you tend to do things more by yourself because consumption get harder. And that's something I've done in my life. Like, for example, I've blocked social media in my phone or make it super hard to access. Then I prefer to build instead of consume. And I think Madeira Island is bringing this in real life. Like, if you want to buy something in Amazon, you know it will take 10 days. And maybe it doesn't pass the border or things you don't know. So you have doubt it will happen. So you prefer to do it yourself or do it another way than buying everything because it's so easy. It's 2 clicks and the next day you have it. So I really realized with you talking about that, like Madeira, it's such a good place for that, for producing, because like consuming is a bit harder in certain things.
Yeah. you're getting the whole thing pretty right. So you're one of the people who are understanding this whole thing early. And there are more people like that, but it is far from mainstream. But I think it will just keep doubling every year, and soon it will be the new norm. So there will be like a creator class where these people will have very different lifestyle, and part of the lifestyle will be where they limit their access to cheap dopamine that's presented in the cities, because that's what cities are. It's a source of cheap dopamine from consumption. Like you can consume everyday little things, and if you feel good, you come home, and then it's even hard to do your work, because once you do that.
Yeah, there's so much FOMO of everything.
Yeah. Also, your brain is very weak. Like whenever you get easy dopamine, it's very hard to go and do difficult tasks, because your brain wants, again, something easy, something quick. And now you are sitting and doing a task that takes 4 days, for example. It's really hard to even start. I think we're seeing huge epidemic of this illness where makers, founders, employees, they're not able to do difficult tasks because of all this, YouTube, Twitter, internet, Wikipedia, series, malls, entertainment, everything just makes your brain really weak.
I agree so bad. Like, this is insane. Like when I see people like addicted to their phone or TikTok or whatever, and then like, yeah, I don't know, I don't have time to do that, I don't feel motivated. I'm like, yeah, dude, like, I mean, it makes sense. You're just addicted to many things, and then making the right things you want are not possible because of addiction. But for many people, like, they don't see that as addiction. Like, this is, I think, a bit sad. But yeah, I totally resonate with you. Like, it becomes harder and harder. And that's why I live in a village, basically, because I am not in the city. So then there are way less temptation. When I live in a city, I feel like I'm kind of a junkie. I want to try this food, I want to do this there, and go there, and then go to this concert. And then at the end of the day, you didn't work, you didn't produce anything that make like sense for a long time, because the dopamine works for a short amount of time, but you're not fulfilled like on the long term, as I am when I'm on my village working on my stuff. Are you still here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something happened with my camera. So basically, it's so hot in here that my phone collapsed, so it doesn't send the video anymore. And
that's happened. Anyway, I think we're getting near to the end of this podcast. You have another one soon, I believe. So we'll go to the finishing questions.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. I really enjoyed this conversation. We should talk more about that, because like we're really
I like it. I like it. You know what I'm thinking? I actually want to do little of like, we have a lot of common topics, and I like them, and especially about the future, about the village, about the makers, and how to be happy maker, etc. So I think it would be cool to have more discussions around this, because I think people will be very interested in these topics, and maybe we can bring in more people to talk about this and keep talking about this, just to because I want to open source this whole idea. So my goal with the Indie Maker Village is not to make money out of it. I want to open source it. I want to have contributors. I want to, have everyone being involved in building it, both with, resources, time, ideas, advice, and everything.
That's make me think about this open source things. I don't know if you know, but Estonia state system is open source. And they start to share it with Finland. Norway also is starting using it. And basically in Europe, it's going to be implemented everywhere. For now, the project is to do like to have the same base everywhere in Europe on the same system, which is open source, for a unique identifier for people. Like you will have one unique number.
Yeah, I saw it.
And that's led by Estonia, and it's fucking open source. I'm like so happy about that, because like, this is so dumb. Like every country is doing its own thing when they could like have common work on things. And I think we should do that. Yeah, I am very convinced about open source as you. So
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you're right. I think open source is not only the case for software. I think open source is the case for all new ideas. Like all open source ideas will thrive. And basically, if you look at what I'm doing now with my business, I'm sharing every little step I do, like on growth, on marketing, on building. And I see my business as being open sourced. My life, my founder life is an open source life where I share everything and people, give me feedback, and I'm happy with that. I'm actually planning to document everything I do. I will go to Twitter and collect all 30,000 times I posted something or replied, and I will turn that into kind of an open source book of everything, so that people can learn.
That's super nice. That's basically why I do the podcast as well. It's like I do want to share and to make people like understand the journey and how they can find their own, because often some people just share like the external life, like the success and stuff like that. So then when people compare to themselves, they just like feel sad and bad and stuff. But when you do, like, for example, the podcast and talk to people, you understand like they fear, you understand they struggle and stuff like that. And that makes way more value for me as a listener and for people who listen than just looking success and then you look like you're doing shit on your own. So that's, I truly believe like in that way of sharing. It's the way to help other people to realize they don't need to be super big. They can do things they like and do it properly. Like it's a bit for me the vision of an artisan. Before we had this kind of thing where you had artisans for the shoe, for the furniture and stuff, and they were just doing few things, but they were super happy about it, and everyone loves them for their work.
It's a fun fact that when I was little, a lot of people did that. Like basically, the current world is not that old. Like the globalism where things produced in a huge fabric, and then like even 10 years ago, if you go to any town in Europe, most places would be family owned. Restaurants, shops, everything. Now nothing is like that. Now everything is owned by Starbucks and by other chains, etc. But when I was a kid, like 30 years ago, it was only that. Like you could only find chains in large downtowns in the cities, and I think like there's something intrinsically valuable in that, where people feel more impact to the world, they feel more useful, because I think there is a big pain on people who work on regular kind of jobs, because they end up by feeling not that useful, not that important. They can be replaced easily, and they were replaced many times throughout their life already. But when you're running a little pizza shop, you can't be replaced for the people who love that shop, who come from neighborhood, right? So you have this, fans. Same as in Bootstrap world. Like the difference between Bootstrap and VC back. When I was a VC back, we had a lot of customers too, but nobody ever said, "I love your product" or something like. Nobody ever said, because usually the people who buy your product were employees of other companies, and they just bought it and they don't care. That's their job. They have no feelings. But now my customers are mostly other founders, other Bootstrap founders, and it feels so good to hear that feedback from them. And I think that kind of work will be the future of work, and I want that to be future of work, so that everybody feels more pride in what they do.
That's funny you're sharing that, because I think lately, if I look back in the last 2 years, most of the product I've bought are because I saw the founder, I like him, and I like the product, and I was having the need, and I buy that because I support this person in this project and they will help me. Instead of, I think I'm not paying any big software anymore from big startup thing, mainly, or The only one I pay is because they were like startup founders like Bootstrap and they raised money at one point. But that's it. Like I've stopped to support like big projects that are no heart in it, you know?
Yeah. Same here. And I think that's pretty cool because you feel great at buying from them too, right? Because you feel they're supporting you. You feel you make them happy. You feel you're doing the right thing. But when you buy from large corporation, nobody going to answer you if you even send a message. And maybe some support agent going to answer you in 4 days with a message like, we received your message, we're going to add it to the backlog and maybe never implement it, right? So, but with the Bootstrap founder, that if you give them a feedback and it makes sense, they will actually just, ship it the week after or day after.
Funnily, I had this experience with Riverside. Riverside was a project Bootstrap at the beginning, and I bought it very, very, very early. And then they raised money, and I was like, no, don't raise, please don't raise. Because before the support was amazing, the founder was answering things, and then you had super nice help and stuff, like they were debugging you. Then they raised money, and they were like they probably grow at one point very fast, and then support becomes shit. It was like a robot answering your shit, and I was like, oh God, again, why did you raise money? The project was amazing. Stay connected. Now I think it's better. They came back to their thing. But yeah, at one point it became so bad. Like, and I got that so many times, like, oh, the thing is raising money. Okay, I cancel the plan. I will find a maker instead.
Yeah, there has to be an alert about projects raising money, so that you have to unsubscribe.
Yeah. Now I have this, and I have also like some people contact me. They say, "Oh, we are in Y Combinator. We are doing that, and we could do that for free or for cheap." I say, thank you a lot. I appreciate you contact me, but since you say you are in YC, I will especially not subscribe and not use your product because you have a high chance in 2 years you're dead and I will change again. So I prefer following bootstrappers.
You see, it's funny that now you trust more those who have no VC funding. They're not in YC and they have very few people, because also if you see the news that we're hiring 20 people, you understand now that now you're going to talk to a random person who doesn't know the product well, and before you talk to the people who are building the product, right? And you like that because they understand you and you have a chat. So you're not happy. You're not happy when you see that the company is hiring people. So the whole thing turned upside down. Like, you don't want your vendor to raise money, go to the YC, or hire a lot of people. It's a bad sign, right?
Definitely,
which is great for us. Which is great for us because, we're on the right boat and we're doing something that gets, more important and more competitive. I think it's not only you and me who think that. I think it's a lot of people think that. Like, now I have, like, a year ago, I only had solopreneurs in my customers. Only, like, nobody else. And now, half of the new customers I get are from medium-sized companies, from companies doing pretty well, from companies with the high revenue or with the VC funding. I have maybe 30 YC companies in my customers too across my products, right? Because they also start liking us, right? Like, of course, back then they looked at bootstrappers as strange entrepreneurs who are doing jokes there. Like, it's not serious. You cannot buy from them. And now we became from, you cannot buy from them, like the opposite. Like, they want to buy from us because they can see that, all the concerns are not true. Like, give me one example of VC, of Bootstrap founder who has decent number of users who, abandoned the project or who suddenly, they died or whatever. Like those things never happen. Like, it happens with VC funded startups.
I know one, which is an exception, but yeah, in VC world is like 99%.
Exactly. In the VC world, by default, your bet is that they will go out of business. That's kind of the math, the statistics, right? In Bootstrap world, your bet is the opposite. Most likely, they will not go out of the business. So the whole, the opposite thing, which is good. And I think as time goes, people will trust more and more, and eventually, the table will turn.
Yeah, but for me, even the best combination is like a bootstrapper who do fucking open source. Then I have company, they come sometimes, like
no
big
risk at
corporate,
all.
they come and they say, like you're solo, they say yes. And they say, this is scary for us because if you die tomorrow, what happened? And then I told them, this is fully open source. Like you can click on a button and run it yourself if you want.
Yeah.
It's just like, there are guys, people doing that themselves. And the guy like, okay, where do I sign? So, I don't need to do a sales pitch. I just say like I am solo, so I will listen to you. And if you have a problem, you can get out anytime. You have no lock-in. Like even if you don't hate me at one point and you still want the software, you can do it. They're like, oh wow, that's amazing.
That's one of the best defender of open source model, even for VC-backed startups, because they go out of business even more often, and they will not send you zip file with the code when they do that. They just shut down and that's it. They say like download your data or whatever, and sometimes they just shut down immediately.
We feel that. There are also something I find interesting in the open source world is what make. Often users are like, you're growing and you're going a direction I don't like, but I cannot do anything about that. But now in open source, if you go against your users, they will just run it on themselves. And so they know they have leverage also on you. And I think this is very healthy relationship, because it's both like you keep them, but there are also a way to do it themselves. So you have to keep them happy, customers, more than trying to just get the most money out of them and log them in. Like, for example, like there are many software that are like, oh yeah, we were making people pay 15 euro and now everyone like us and we don't have like people doing the same as us. So we triple the price. And in open source, you cannot do that because it's unfair.
It is
just
healthy
like
relationship. Both parties trust each other more and
okay, John, I think we need to end up soon the thing. When is your next podcast? I think it's
it is in 10 minutes, but I have to recharge. I have to get some food.
Yes. Okay, so I will ask you 2-3 questions and we're done. They're very short one. First one is, do you have a quote you really like about like being an entrepreneur or something like that?
Quote?
Yeah.
That's a difficult question. I don't like quotes, generally.
But it can be something you repeat yourself, not like famous one. I don't like famous quotes, but I have my own. I like
the one I actually mention. It's not a quote, but it's an advice I mention often. You should love the journey, not the outcome.
The destination. Yeah, that's a very good one.
Because you cannot control the outcome. There are a lot of things against you, and nothing is guaranteed. And also, even if you reach your goal, there is high chance you will be very sad right after, because you will be kind of, empty. Like, it happened. What's next? And I know people there. I know people who exited, who sold their companies for good money, and never ever found themselves again until this day. I know people like that. That's why you should enjoy the journey. And if you enjoy the journey, you're always happy. You don't have to, don't postpone your happiness into the future. Be happy now because things are happening.
You're right. Thank you for that one. I believe it's very useful for people and it needs to be remembered all the time. The next one is a question for me. Who is the next person I should invite after you in this podcast?
Good question. If you want to talk about philosophy, I think Dagobert would be cool, because I have a podcast with him today. Yeah, we're going to talk about philosophy too. So he has a lot of opinions. Like all French people have a lot of opinions. They are not shy on saying something that's not mainstream. I like them for that, and I think they are very successful because of that. So I would recommend him, I think.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I never did the podcast with him. I was planning to have one, but I think he was, at the time, he stopped what he was doing. So we canceled it. But I could ask him again. I like he's back, and he's back like very authentic on the way he wants. It's super nice.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. That's for you. Where we send people who are interested into knowing more about you? Like, what's the best place?
Twitter. That's my house. That's my co-working space. I enter Twitter every morning and every night. I answer every single DM. I don't know if there are more people who answer DMs than me on Twitter. I think I answered over 1,000 people this year.
Wow.
There's nobody I ghosted.
You answer me like instant.
Yeah, exactly. I
nice.
answered everyone. I answer like 80 or 100 people a day, and I like it. I just like talking to people and, giving them advice or answering their questions or whatever, like any question. So basically, if people need any help, they can reach out to me, and I'm sometimes busy, but I always answer. And if I'm busy, I say I'm busy today, I will answer you tomorrow. So yeah, reach out to me on Twitter.
Perfect. That leads me to my next things, because now we're done with the question. It's like a finishing line. And so often what I recommend to people is, if you like the podcast, if you enjoy it, it's very nice to tell us, because that's what we were saying, the whole podcast, basically, feeling we are useful is super important. So feel free to send us a thanks, send us a question, anything, a remark, how we can improve it as well. It can be nice. And so to my Twitter or the Twitter of John. And thank you for listening. Thank you to being there, John. And see you soon, I believe, in another podcast.
Yeah.
And for the listeners, see you next week. Bye-bye.